responsible. To some extent, the greed of making money came into the picture, and international market surrogacy became a big boom in India. Became a big surrogacy hub, and many people were exploited, and non-medical people took this up, and then they started doing illegal things, and then it led to a lot of money laundering and illegal activities. So that is why they had to make a rule. But this rule is more of a problem to doctors and patients. I think once again, in spite of all these rules, it is like PCP NDT, which is stringent, but still at places it doesn't really help the doctors or the patients. So why the law and ethics in ART? ART has given a new hope. It has given a new hope, but also has raised several issues, as I told you. The ethical issues, legal, moral, and social issues. The practice of fertility tourism in India, because this became a big hub, and every place they had a surrogacy homes to monitor the authenticity of ART and surrogacy clinics. Some were illegal, a lot of illegal activities took place. Protect the surrogate, the mother and the child. Then they started, even baby trafficking also started. So that was the main thing that this rule came into picture, and improve the status of ART in India. Of course, we should improve quality. We should take care of everything what is happening in and around us, and protect our patients, protect the surrogates, and protect doctors also. So the ART definitions and ART rule in 2022. That is, the Act means ART reproductive technology regulation. Form means a form of appended to these rules. Section means a section of the Act. Words and expression used herein are not defined as these rules, but defined in Act shall have the meaning respectively assigned to them in the Act. ART means assisted reproductive technology. Collection means collection of the sperms from males without any surgical procedure. Storage means procedure adopted for storage of gametes or embryos or ovarian tissues. So what is this rules, or what is this? The National Board and the State UT Board. The National Board is, this takes measures to develop new policies in the area of ART, to assist the state boards in accreditation, supervision, regulation of services of the clinics and the banks in the country, and to encourage and promote training and research in the field of assisted reproductive techniques. To assist the central government in issuing guidelines, notification, and orders pertaining to ART. Previously, it was ICMR, but ICMR had it was just a body. We had to register in that, but that didn't have any stringent rules. But now then there is a national board which has all this ART regulation, and the state board is going to do the inspection. What is the state board and union territory board? This shall assist the national board to develop the new policies. Suppose each state has an issue, they will develop it. And state union territory board shall also supervise the accreditation and regulation services of the assisted reproductive technology banks and clinics, and in any other activities directed by the central government. So when to approach whom? There is policy matters. When it is policy matters, it is National Assisted Reproductive Technology and Surrogacy Board, State Assisted Matter, that is the Surrogacy Board, and day-to-day affairs, that is Assisted Reproductive Technology, and there is a Surrogacy Authority, that is the proper appropriate authority or a committee. So they have to be approached. Then what is this ART clinics and banks? Level 1. What is this level 1 ART clinics? That these would be ART clinics where primarily investigations are carried out, including diagnosis of type, cause of infertility, and only IUI is carried out as a part of treatment. Level 2 is, these are ART clinics where all advanced investigations, diagnostic, therapeutic procedures in ART is carried out. Such clinics may undertake research and training also. ART banks will be responsible for screening, collection, and registration of semen and cryopreservation of sperms. So how do you establishment of ART clinic? That is establishing a new clinic. No person shall establish any clinic or bank for undertaking assisted reproductive technology or to render assisted reproductive technology procedures in any form unless such bank or clinic is registered in the Act. And existing clinics, every clinic or bank which is conducting assisted reproductive technology or partly or exclusively, whatever, so they have to apply for registration, provided that such clinics and banks shall cease to conduct any such counseling or procedures in expiry of 6 months from the date of commencement of this Act, unless such clinics and banks have applied for registration and so is registered separately or till such application is disposed or whatever. So this is for the existing clinic. Now, what has happened in the National Registry? The board has been formed. The state ART board is also formed. But the state ART board has not started inspection in all the states, except Bihar. All the other states of India and Union Territory, it has been formed. Now, there are, so far, the application received all over India is 4,165 and 119 have been inspected and registered. And there are 1,101 ART banks which application is received, but only 78 has been registered. Surrogacy clinic 827, 96 has been registered. ART, nothing has been rejected, in the sense they have not rejected any application. So this is the status of the ART registry at present. Now, how do you register? You have to browser in Google and enter this registry, click and log in, and then click on the application and you will find a filled form. Fill the rest of the application, including the staff, equipment, and procedure. Now, every application you have to pay a fee. That is 50,000 for level 1 ART clinic, 2 lakhs. Initially, they made 5 lakhs. Now, they've made it 2 lakhs. ART clinic for 5 years. Every 5 years, you have to renew it. And the thing for ART bank is 50,000. And for surrogacy clinic, which is the registration is 3 years, that is every, 2 lakhs again. So, just a moment. So, how you have to, just a moment. So, 1 second, just, I can't see what is there. I'll put it this side. So, first is you pay fees, ensure the required equipment and amount and manpower, and then inspection will be done by the state board, and then registration is done and validity and renewal. These are the 5 steps of registration. So instructions regarding the clinic for ART and Surrogacy Acts in 2021 have been, I think I'll take this off, otherwise, because basically I'm reading everything, or you make it very small. Just a moment, sorry. Yeah, close it, yeah. Okay. Yes. So for ART and Surrogacy Acts have been issued on 24/1/2023, which provides as under the clinics which have submitted their application and for registration to respective state authorities may be allowed to conduct counseling or procedures pertaining to ART or surrogacy for a period up to 31st/3, subjected to following conditions. That such clinics and banks shall stop conducting counseling pertaining to ART or surrogacy application if registration is rejected. This happens before 33, that is this end of this March. So otherwise, if they don't conduct, such clinics and banks will start conducting, counseling, everything, they'll continue surrogacy period and registration, everything, and renewal for 3 years, surrogacy and ART for 5 years. From the date of application submission, registration is accepted by state or union territory. Appropriate authority for grant of registration certificate and issuance of the order of registration if this happens before 23. But in case it doesn't happen, in the sense they have not done, then the clinics and banks which have not applied, the people who have already paid, because all of us have already paid for that, for the registration, but we are waiting for their approval. So this will continue functioning, because state government itself has not formed a body which should come for inspection, and they are only, because of elections, they are not clear in whatever they are doing. But those who have not registered, not applied for registration, or whose applications is incomplete, deficient in any respect, or shall cease in conducting counseling or procedures pertaining to ART and surrogacy in state and union territory authorities, shall immediate action will be taken to issue necessary orders to close these banks. So if you have not registered, please register, because this may be a problem for us. So I'm sure every one of you would have registered paying 2 lakhs for surrogacy and 2 lakhs for your clinic. So in level 1 ART clinic, what you can do, clinics were only up to intrauterine insemination. If you're doing IUI follicular monitoring, then please register as level 1 and pay 50,000. Clinics can do semen processing, but no freezing. Can conduct follicular monitoring, cannot transfer the gametes from one location to another. That is, if you have to do the processing, you have to do it. You can't process it somewhere and then bring the sample and do it here. Or from here, you can't transfer it to another place. So this is level 1 rules of ART clinic. Duties of level 2 ART. To ensure all unused embryos. Sorry. Level 2. Level 2. To ensure all unused gametes, embryos are preserved by ART clinic for the use of the same recipient. You can't take somebody's embryo and put it in somebody else's womb. No, this cannot be done. ART clinic shall also cryopreserve oocyte, sperms, and oncofertility patients undergoing treatment for such conditions for the duration of 10 years with permission from the national board. Because these people have to register. See, every patient who comes has to be registered, and whatever we are doing, that has to be through the state board, go to the national board. We have to fill it in the website. Every ART clinic shall intimate every change of employing, any employee change, any change of your staff or embryologist, at least 30 days in advance, you have to inform them. While retrieving oocytes, effort should be made to retrieve not more than 7 oocytes during a single donor. Well, this was not possible. So, however, they said you can retrieve the follicles now, whatever are there. But the thing is, you stimulate in such a way that you don't go above 7 or 8. So you have to do minimal stimulation. The clinic shall ensure that controlled ovarian stimulation of a woman in order to prevent hyperstimulation should not be done. Then definition of applicable to ART clinics, definition applicable. That is, ART means all techniques that attempt to obtain pregnancy by handling sperms, oocytes, everything can be done. And then assisted reproductive technology means premises equipped with the requisite facilities of medical practitioners registered under the national board and carrying out the procedure. Commissioning couple means an infertile couple who approach an assisted reproductive ART clinic or ART technology for obtaining services from these authorized clinic or bank. Woman means any woman above the age of 21 who approaches an assisted reproductive technology clinic or bank for her services. Infertility means the same definition, 1 year of unprotected sexual sex, and then no conception. So minimum staff requirement in ART clinics. In ART clinic, level 1, it is 1 gynecologist. Level 2, you should have 1 gynecologist, 1 embryologist, 1 counselor, 1 andrologist, and director. This director can be, the gynecologist herself can be the director, but that has to be registered in the national board. Then the gynecologist, who can do it? Medical postgraduate in gynecology, obs and gynae should have done at least 50 pickups under the supervision of an ART specialist, at least 3 years of working experience for him or her to perform an independent ART bank or ART clinic, or a medical postgraduate in gynecology, obs and gynae, with a super specialty degree or a fellowship in reproductive medicine for at least 6 months or 1 year, and experience of not less than 3 years of work in ART clinic. So in case the gynecologist ART who wants to commence this, should be a postgraduate, should have done a pickup of 50 and shall have at least 3 years of experience. So this is something acceptable. And now even a degree which is recognized by some university. It has to be through a university, any ART, degree. Embryologists, of course, they have to have a degree in the human embryology, clinical embryology, or a PhD degree holder, or MBBS or veterinary science, and then a postgraduate degree in embryology. But as one-time measure, all embryologists working in ART clinic or IVF infertility clinics, before the commencement of these rules, with the below mentioned qualifications and experience, may be allowed to continue as an embryologist. However, after commencement of these rules, all clinics will hire embryologists with any of the above mentioned qualification and experience as a criteria. Graduate in life sciences or biotechnology or reproductive biology, veterinary sciences with at least 5 years experience of working in a ART clinic, and to do at least 500 IVF lab procedures, that is including the ICSI of at least 100 cycles of cryopreservation of embryos. So andrologist, of course, an MCH degree in urology, counselor, a graduate in psychology or clinical psychology, anesthetist, of course, we all know, director, shall have a post-graduation degree or life sciences, or even a gynecologist can be a director. The minimum equipment required, that is to have a basic level 1 is microscope, centrifuge, and a refrigerator. This is for the IUI procedure. And for ART clinic, microscope, incubators 2, laminar airflow, sperm counting chambers, centrifuge, refrigerators, then equipment for cryopreservation, home aspiration pump, ultrasound machine with transvaginal probe and needle guide, test tube warmer, anesthesia, resuscitation trolley, micromanipulator unit. So all this is a basic requirement for an IVF clinic. In when you're doing IUI, you needn't have a machine, because you can do IUI in somebody else's. A radiologist can do in their center and then they can send. So this is the minimum requirement for level 1. Level 2, this is the requirement. So then counseling and consent forms. There are different consent forms. For consent form signed by couple or women, and then consent form for intrauterine insemination. You can't go with the consent forms which were before. You have to take these consent forms. So these consent forms, if anybody wants, I can give this presentation to Arun. So he will share it with you all. So you get it in the ART rules also, but you can make it into your own. So couples going ahead with ART procedure to produce identity proof, proof of marriage. If Aadhaar card name is different. So they have to be first registered as a consent. Infertility couple, they have to be registered. And then for consent for IUI form is there. Then consent for donor sperms. And then for freezing of embryos also you have consent. And then the freezing gametes, sperms, oocytes and all that. Then consent for parental consent if it is a minor. Suppose you're doing ovarian tissue cryopreservation for a girl who has some malignancy or endometriosis, then from elders you should have from her caretakers. And a boy, semen, suppose he has some malignancy, then for semen. So this is the consent form for the parents or the legal guardians. Then oocyte retrieval, this is the, we would just use this initially and IUI consent forms, but now everything has to be perfect. Then applicable clinical aspects, that is clinics to obtain the eligibility. Women above the age of 21 and below the age of 50, and men above the age of 21 and below the age of 55 with the proper age proof. Clinics to obtain a donor from registered banks. Women shall not be treated with sperm derived from more than one. So you can't mix and do the sperms, and one donor only. Suppose the woman says that I don't want this donor in the next cycle, I want a different donor. You can take a different donor, but that donor will not donate to any other women. So it is like that. So one woman you are taking donor sperms, it has to be one man, and he cannot use it for other women. If this woman wants to change the donor, she can change over to another donor, but that has to be a single person for her only, nobody else. So sale, transfer, use of gametes, zygotes, embryos, or any other thereof or information related to it directly or indirectly to any party within or outside India shall be prohibited, except in case of transfer of own gametes and embryos for personal use with the permission of the national board. So only if you have to transfer from one place or somebody else, that national board has to give permission. We can't take any decisions and just take it, put it in a flask and send it. No, that is not possible. So then the requirements, the ART clinic shall show cryopreservation of oocytes. Of course, apart from the consent forms, oocyte sperms for oncofertility undergoing treatment, such conditions and duration of more than 10 years. And of course, with the permission from the national board, clinic shall not use any human reproductive material except in accordance with provisions of the act to create human embryos in vitro for any purpose without consent of the couple. Clinic shall retrieve oocytes as specified by regulations. ART clinics ensure the controlled ovarian stimulation of women in order to prevent hyperstimulation. Not more than 3 oocytes or embryos shall be placed in the uterus of a woman during a treatment cycle. Of course, now we don't even do 2. It is 1 or 2, that's all. The embryo shall not be split using for twinning or increase the number of available embryos, and collection of gametes posthumously shall be done only if prior consent is taken. And the clinic shall not use ovum derived from the fetus in any process of in vitro fertilization. So then the requirement for PGD. So no sex determination is done. Or if there is any sex-linked issues, like if research on human embryos within India, research on human gametes within India shall be performed in obtaining consent of commissioning couple for transfer of such gamete or identified empaneled research notified by the National Institute only. And then the rule or guideline shall be permitted as per the Indian Medical Council guidelines or stem cell research guidelines or biomedical ethics. So any revision or anything. So all unused oocytes of donors shall be preserved by the bank for the use of the same recipient. You can't use it to anybody else. And or given for research if they give for research. If they say, no, you can't use it for research, then throw the gametes, that's all. So can an NRI couple avail ART in India? Yes. Medical visa required, other documents, medical passport, scan copy of original passport of the husband and wife, scan copy of marriage certificate, and scan copy of passport size photo. So all this is a minimal requirement for medical visa. And there is also a rule for surrogacy. The rules are different. They can come here for IVF treatment, but for surrogacy, one of them should hold an Indian passport. So then ART banks. What is this? ART banks shall have a minimum of 1 registered medical practitioner trained in handling and preparation of storage and semen sample. This is good because non-medical people cannot start anything. So that is the major advantage. Like previously, we had many quacks starting all this. So that will, of course, come to will be completely stopped. But the other things, the other problems, middlemen may start, or the ART committee can threaten us. So the responsibilities are ART bank shall be responsible for screening, collection, registration of semen donor and cryopreservation of embryos, performing screening and registration of oocyte donor, operate as semen banks or oocyte banks or both, maintain the records or data of all donors, and shall regularly update the national registry. Then oocyte and sperm donors, clauses and relevant to ART. So that is, bank will determine the eligibility of gamete donors. Bank shall obtain oocytes between 23 and the age of 35, both inclusive. comment does not need to be married or a living child for oocyte donors. Screening and testing the gametes donors to be done by the banks. Sperms or oocyte donors shall be tested for the following: HIV, HBs, AG and all. And to obtain name, Aadhaar card, address, everything, and then the blood group also. The bank shall obtain the semen and between males of 21 age and 55 years. Both are inclusive. Then the bank shall not supply the sperm or oocyte to a single donor to move for more than one commissioning couple. So only one donor, one couple, and one oocyte, one couple. So the gametes, the gametes of the donor shall be stored for a period of not more than 10 years. End of such period, the gametes shall be allowed to perish or donated to a research organization. Sale and transfer of the gametes to other parts, directly or indirectly, shall be prohibited. We cannot do the selling of gametes. So the consent form to be signed by the ART donor with the ART bank, and no ART clinic can conduct sperm donation program. So clinic, you have to be registered as a bank. Then ART clinics can also recruit the oocyte donor, but the donor has to be enrolled with the registered ART bank before beginning with the stimulation. Now, the moment the donor is registered, that means she can't donate, only one she can donate. Initially, it was 3 times, 6 times they used to donate. So once she is there, she is already in the registry, and then she can't go to places and then donate. So this is the consent form for that, and specifies for the oocyte donation in ART bill. The donor should donate only once in a lifetime and not more than 7 oocytes. The unused oocyte shall be preserved to use this for the same recipient or given to for research in some organization. Insurance coverage and guarantee for the oocyte donor. The intending couple should purchase an insurance of 12 months for the or an agent who is recognized by the national board as to be insurance company, sufficient enough to cover all her expenses and complications arising due to the oocyte retrieval. So you can't pay her money, but you have to have insurance. And the intending couple shall sign an affidavit to be sworn by the metro. This was initially judicial magistrate in first class. Now it is just changed to a notarized affidavit via notification. This was on 10th October 22. So these are the rules which has to be followed with the donor, because donors also, it's become a headache. So we try to convince the patient for pooled egg IVF than keeping donor, having the problems of donors. And the donor record keeping, Aadhaar card, the ID, then sample, and then recruiting, and oocyte donors, the recruitment date and the number of persons name of the person, signature and supply date and ART clinic, everything has to be maintained. Documentation between ART clinic and bank. ART bank documentation, ART license, MOU with the clinic, donor registration and Aadhaar card, blood investigations, insurance cover, and the form 14 and 14A for the donor and sperm, and then a sperm donor, and then acknowledgement of the copy of the donation, and the form 13 and 14B copy, and donor registry and consent forms and affidavits. ART clinic documentation, acknowledgement of supply, stimulation, pickup of donor and ART bank. That is only of the donor. This is affidavit of the commissioning couple for compensation, insurance copy of ART bank, stimulation trigger details, consent for donor and surgical procedures, that is OPU, and form 14B oocyte and embryo record, ART clinic license copy, MOU with ART bank and ART clinic monthly record sheets, and all the procedures to be done. Then information and management, that is requirements and that the confidentiality, disclosure of information about treatment to database, national registry, commissioning couple to whom the information and medical emergency or other court compensation. Then discharge summary has to be maintained by the ART clinic and also in the national registry. Online submission should be done, and record keeping, that is very important, of oocyte donors, embryos, and then all the records of the database, everything up to 10 years we have to keep it. and search for the records. Every ART bank shall allow inspection of their place equipments and inspection of the already registered. Whenever they get a notice or when there is doubt, we have to allow them to check the records. So then grievance handling, there should be some place for grievance handling and complaints for that's a cell, complaint cell for the patients, and there has to be a counselor and somebody has to take the complaints. And this is for making complaint also, there is an appropriate form, for the patients to make their complaints and their address, everything. And then offenses and penalties. Now, this is very important. No advertisement regarding sex selection can be done. If done, 5 to 10 years imprisonment and 10 to 25 lakhs. Offenses and penalties. Any medical genesis, gynecologist or RMP or any person shall not allow, abandon or disown, exploit the abandoned or disowned child, born through this assisted reproductive technology, sell the human gametes, run an agency, a racket of organization, selling what they were doing before, import or help getting imported whatever manner of human gametes. They can't be sold or they can be transferred also. Exploit the commissioning couple, women or gamete donor in any form, and sell any human gamete for any purpose. So if done, 5 to 10 years for the first contravention, and after subsequent contravention, imprisonment is for 3 to 8 years and fine up to 10 lakhs. So whoever contravenes any of these provision of this act or any rule, penalty is 5 years for the first, and subsequent is 3 to 8 years.
Voice not heard.
Can you hear me, Veena? Just see. Now can you hear? 3 to 8 years and 10 to 25 years. Can you hear me? Arun, is there a problem?
No, madam, we can hear, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Done. So then the Surrogacy Act. So what is the Surrogacy Act? A practice where one woman bears and gives birth to a child for an intending couple with the intention of handing over such a child to an intending couple after the birth. So evolution of the surrogacy law. The ICMR issued 2014 draft assisted reproductive technology regulation bill of 204 banning surrogacy for foreign nationals. 2016 surrogacy bill was introduced allowing close relative to be a surrogate, and only Indian citizen or NRI can participate in surrogacy. Then 2020, a select committee of Rajya Sabha submits recommendations including allowing any willing woman to be a surrogate accepted by the cabinet. 2021, the Surrogacy Act 21 passed by the parliament receives presidential assent on December 25 to protect the rights of the surrogate mother and child. So this is basically, of course, to protect the surrogacy. So surrogacy, according to the Surrogacy Act, commercial surrogacy is not allowed. I don't know how many will come for this altruistic surrogacy. I really don't know. Altruistic surrogacy means surrogacy with no charges, which is a big, I think, a blunder which they are doing. Expenses, fees, remuneration or monetary incentives of whatever nature, except medical expenses, such other prescribed expenses incurred to a surrogate mother, and an insurance coverage for the surrogate mother and given to a surrogate mother by her dependents or her representatives. This is bad because, see, the surrogate is not getting anything. Insurance company will get money. Doctors may not be benefited, but all the middlemen will get money in this. Any other medical expenses and insurance coverage are provided by the intended couple to the surrogate during the pregnancy, which they normally do also. So definitions to keep in mind. Intending couple means who have medical indication of necessitating gestational surrogacy and who intend to become parents through surrogacy. Intending means an Indian woman who is a widow or a divorcee between 35 to 45 and who intends to avail the surrogacy. Surrogacy clinic means surrogacy clinic, center or laboratory conducting assisted reproductive services, IVF, genetic counseling, genetic lab, and assisted banks or conducting surrogacy procedures, or any clinical establishment whomsoever named or called conducting this procedure in the form. Surrogacy procedures means all gynecological, obstetrical medical procedures, techniques, tests, everything which is done for handling a surrogate. Surrogate mother means a woman who agrees to bear a child who is genetically related to the intending couple or intending woman through surrogacy from implantation of embryo or in her womb and fulfills the condition. So who decides? Current regulatory board, National Surrogacy Board and State Surrogacy Board. Advising the central board, laying down the code of conduct of surrogacy clinics, reviewing the Implementation Act. So when a couple can a couple undergo surrogacy? No surrogacy or surrogacy procedure shall be conducted, undertaken, performed or availed except for the following purposes only. When an intending couple has medical indication necessitating gestational surrogacy, provided that the couple of Indian origin or an intending woman who intends to avail surrogacy shall obtain a certificate of recommendation from the board on an application made by the said person in such a form and a manner as prescribed. When it is only for altruistic purposes, when it is not for commercial purposes or commercialization of surrogacy or surrogacy procedures, when it is not for producing children or sale, prostitution or any other form of exploitation and any other condition or disease as may be specified by the regulatory board. So they have to apply and they will scrutinize and then only give a consent, give a permission for surrogacy. So intending couple, intending women wish is surrogacy for should be. That is eligibility couple of Indian origin, couple should be married, female age 23 to 50 and male is between 26 to 55 on the day of registration. Couple do not have any surviving child biologically through adoption, through surrogacy earlier, or have a child who is mentally or physically challenged or suffers from life-threatening disorder or fatal illness with no permanent cure. Eligibility required for single women, Indian origin, widow or divorcee between 35 to 45, woman does not have any surviving biological child through adoption, through surrogacy, or a mentally, physically challenged from life-threatening disorder or no permanent cure. Only such woman is allowed surrogacy. And this is the eligibility authority certificate for intending couple, which comes from the national board. Intending couple or woman has one of the indications, that is has no uterus or missing uterus, abnormal uterus, hypoplastic, or if it is surgically removed, or the intended couple who is repeatedly failed to conceive after multiple IVFs and recurrent implantation failure, multiple pregnancy losses resulting from unexplained medical conditions, any illness that makes impossible for the woman to carry a pregnancy. Previous test, couple undergoing surrogacy must have both gametes from the intending couple, and donor gametes is not allowed. So they can't take a donor egg. They can't take a donor sperm. Single woman, widow undergoing surrogacy must have her self eggs, and donor sperms will be allowed only for this lady. So this is how the surrogacy intending couple, they should have the certificate from medical district board, certification of mental and psychological fitness in order of the magistrate, notary, and insurance for the surrogate mother. Approach the chairperson of the ART board, eligibility certificate, application of the state board, and then recommendation of surrogacy. Yes, registered in surrogacy clinic. No, then the application is rejected. So this is how it works. How does surrogacy works in the present day? Then certification required by the couple. That is what all they have to have. Proof of marriage, and then certificate of age and birth, then certificate essential for the couple, women attained authority, eligibility, medical indication, as I told before, then medically they are fit, then order of parentage from the court, insurance coverage, and psychological fitness. So documentation should be checked by the surrogacy clinic, the director of surrogacy clinic, to verify all these things. So certificate of essentiality, certificate of eligibility of surrogate mother, certificate of eligibility of intending couple or woman, and approval by the ART board. They should have an approval. Otherwise, you can't do surrogacy. So the rights of the child born. The child born out of surrogacy shall be deemed to be a biological child of the couple. Intending women shall be said and entitled to all the rights and privileges available to a natural child. But the couple can't say that they can't abandon the child born through surrogacy within India or outside for any reason whatsoever that is restricted to genetic defect, birth defect, or any other medical condition. The defects developing subsequently, or sex of the child, or conception of more than one baby, they can never say, no, I don't want this. I don't want twins. I want a single baby. All that can't be done because this has happened in the past. So who can be a surrogate mother? Close relative of the couple, a willing woman, should have been married, having a child of her own, must be between 25 to 35, has not been a surrogate to anybody else before, and has not had 3 failed attempts. The surrogate, if she has failed attempts before because she is registered, she will not be eligible. Can become a surrogate mother only once in a lifetime, will not be providing her own gametes for surrogacy. So should be willing to be a surrogate mother with force or coinciron, and then willing for altruistic surrogacy. So this surrogate mother to undergo medical assessment to see fitness for surrogacy. Document should be reviewed. Counseling of surrogate mother and a husband has to be done. And if requirements are fulfilled, consent of the surrogate mother and the agreement of the surrogacy should be signed. And then surrogacy rules, that is embryo transfer. 1 embryo transfer should be done. Number of embryos of any surrogate procedures on the surrogate mother shall not be more than 3 times. Surrogate mother can withdraw consent at any time. And MTP can be done on surrogate mother's consent and the provision by the surrogacy, MTP Act. So written consent for the surrogate for abortion, medical termination of pregnancy is like this. So this is the consent form. And offense and penalty, commercial surrogacy will be put to jail. Selling of embryos will be put to jail. Exploiting and abandoning a surrogate child also, the doctors will be held responsible. So penalties is up to 10 years and fine up to 10 lakhs. So unaddressed concerns are the Act has permitted altruistic surrogacy only, but there is practical difficulty in finding surrogates in altruistic. The Act does not allow couples undergoing live-in relationship to have baby through surrogacy. Third gender or homosexual, LGBTs, no way they can have the child. Then under Act, intending means Indian woman who is a widow or divorcee between the age of 35 to 45, who intends to avail surrogacy. As such, the Act does not allow unmarried women to have a guardianship, or single mother is not allowed, is legally allowed in India, but they haven't mentioned. Also, age limit of 35 to 45 years for becoming a mother is questionable, and why not below 35 and years beyond 45 years? Registration of surrogacy clinics under the Act is a good initiative, but again, there are chances of escaping the long arms of the law owing to corruption and bribery. So this is the biggest problem. So it is dicey, but the biggest problem is the third parties may have benefits from this. Then bribery may start. Doctors will be unnecessarily penalized. I don't know who has to answer all this. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, tell me. Yes.
It was an excellent presentation. Hello.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I thank Veena for preparing my presentation, my embryologist.
No, excellent. Every point was dealt with and so neatly. I think everybody should know about this. And before starting anything, because many people are unaware and they are doing IUI and all, even without registering and all.
Yes,
so what are the
deadline
under
is
level
March
1, level 2, level 3, and surrogacy also. People will be just advising and all, but they should know the law, how they have to register and all. It was a really excellent presentation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a eye opener.
The recorded thing is there. If anybody wants a presentation, we'll be more than happy to share. So Arun, you can ask, call up Arun and tell, and then I'll share the presentation.
Yes,
Or I
yes,
can put it in the group also. I will put it, Arun.
Group also you can put.
Yeah, I'll put it in the
I
group.
will ask Arun to share it with all the president secretaries.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Arun, share this
Yes,
with
ma'am.
all the president secretaries
We
of the
will
state.
make
So
a
that
Yes,
few
ma'am.
changes and give, and then you can share it with everybody.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
thank you, sir. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
thanks for the opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vidya. Nice presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajashri.
Yeah. Yeah. Arun could share the link of this presentation also.
Yeah,
that
ma'am.
also
Yeah, ma'am.
can be
Sure.
done. We can give you the presentation also. Okay?
Yeah, ma'am. I'll share the link also.
Yes, yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.